everybody. I hope I'm live. Hello. Hi. I'm Gail Carriger. I'm an author. This is my semi-regular Saturday Q&A. I'm hoping somebody is seeing this. 2 people are seeing this. Hello, 2 people. Excellent. That means something's happening. Right. Hi. Welcome. Gail here. I am just getting everything settled. Hello, Lavender. Hi. Hi, Iowa. Yay. Oh, okay. Excellent. This is very exciting. It's working. If you would be so kind as to say hi in a comment, that would be awesome. If you want to tell me where you're tuning in from, if you feel like doing that. I love hearing where everyone is from. Texas. Hi. Hi, Rhonda. Oh, this is so much fun. Oh, yay. Okay, good. People are here. I'm seeing the comments. The technology is working. It seems like we're doing well. I'm pretty excited about this. So I am going to just, because my lovely moderator is not here today, I'm going to see if I can quickly share this with the Parasol Protectorate group. There it is. Oh, look at me with the technology. I can do it. I really can. Share to a group? Oh, it's not letting me share to a group. Well, if somebody like Ty or someone who knows how these things work would be willing to share the video over to the group, that would be awesome, because it looks like it's not giving me the option. Okay, well, there it is. Oh, you know what? Probably because I'm signed in under the wrong identity. Well, but if I switch identities, is it going to bump me off of the feed? Oh my god, you guys. Technology is too much for me. Let me try that. If I disappear, it's not my fault. It's been done to me. I'll be back as soon as possible. Okay. Now can I share it to... No. Okay, never mind. Someone else is going to have to share it, please. So someone who can figure out how, please share this over to the Parasol Protectorate group. Otherwise, I suppose I can share it later. They can just catch up then. That's interesting to know. Right. Hi, everyone. Oh, welcome to a very, very gray Saturday here. Charity, thank you, sweetheart. Charity's going to do it, everybody. I have a list. I have a checklist, and then I also have a list of some questions that people have asked ahead of time. Ostensibly, we're going to be talking about our plans for 2023, all of that sort of a thing. Yeah, so we'll get started momentarily. First, I have to do the usual check-in to make sure you all know. This is the lipstick I'm currently wearing. People always ask. It is Revlon Ultra HD Vinyl Lip Polish. As you can see, it's got good saturation and nice shine, but honestly, it doesn't stick. Like, it'll get on everything. As you'll see, as I drink tea, it gets everywhere. So I'm not sure I necessarily recommend it, but it looks all right. That's our first thing. Today's tea is, I'm back to my milk oolong today. I love this tea. It's from Taiwan. It is delicious. You can find it, I get it off Amazon, but you can find it. I recommend trying an oolong if you're somebody who normally doesn't like green teas. It doesn't have the grassiness of a regular green tea. It has its own kind of unique flavor. When they say milk oolong, it's because it has this sort of milky, malty flavor. So I've really gotten into oolongs recently. This is what it looks like when it's all in a container. You can see it starts out as these little pellets, and then it unfurls into this beautiful leaf, and I just love it. So that's what I'm drinking today. I am drinking it out of this teacup, which was a gift to me at a steampunk event several years ago now. At least I'm pretty sure it was a steampunk event. So yes, I like it. I like this teacup for oolongs because of the shape and height. Technically, you're supposed to have an oolong out of a, like a little clear glass. So you can see the gorgeous color. It does have a beautiful color. That's today's tea. I am wearing new glasses. I know they're a little big. They are modern frames, so usually I have vintage frames, but I needed to update my prescription, so I've got these. I'm not wild about them, but they came from a site called VooGlam if you're looking for vintage frames. Also, not wild about the site. A little difficult of some customer service issues, so go in really knowing your prescription really, really well and being very careful about your order because returns are darn near impossible. So just be aware of that. But they are the only place I've found online that has like interesting vintage frames. And even so, as you can tell, this size is not a vintage size. It is bigger than vintage. And these are smalls. I have a tiny head, so a little pin head, so I have to get small glasses, but they don't seem very small to me. Anyway, that is your update on the things that you people usually ask me about, what I'm wearing and what I look like. The turban is, you know, my usual Amazon one. I hope everybody is doing well at the beginning of 2023. I know the weathers are chaotic out there. For those who have kindly asked, here in Northern California, the storms are a lot. They're not impacting me personally. My dad, who's up in Sonoma, is not in the part that has been hard hit. My mom, who is out on the coast, has had no power on and off for a couple of weeks, but honestly, that's how I grew up. We grew up losing power whenever there was a storm. So when you live in a rural small town in the middle of nowhere, you're kind of last to get fixed on the end of the chain of electricity. So I grew up this way. It was always very exciting, actually, when I was a kid and there was a storm, because then the candles would come out and it's all dark and mysterious, you know, if it happens during the daytime, and we just sort of planned to lose power. We had a wood burning stove, so that heat wasn't an issue. And then we had gas everything. So, you know, you always had your stove working. And then mom and dad, we would start eating through the refrigerator. So you had to eat the stuff that was going to spoil first. And you had to sort of strategically plan to open the refrigerator door or not, because, you know, you wanted to preserve as much as possible. So it's like, get in, get everything out, close it really quickly. So that was always fun. Winter events. Yes, people are clocking in saying how they're doing. I'm really feeling it for those of you who have been in the snowstorm. That seems a lot rougher than a rainstorm, I gotta say. I mean, in our case, California's just ill prepared for rain. We panic. So, on to the business of questions. I don't really have anything super concrete to prepare for this year, but I am happy to talk a little bit about what my writing plans are for this year. Those of you who get the Cheer Up, which is my newsletter, you got a little update on what the plan is. But the big exciting plan is that the Divinity books, or AKA, that's the code for them, but the Tinkered Starsong series, which is my young adult space opera celebrity romance sort of commentary on parasocial relationships, the aliens are coming for our K-pop kind of rigmarole. It's a lot of fun. This series is so much fun, but I really haven't got the hook down yet. Anyway, that trilogy is going to come out this year. I'm not entirely sure yet on logistics because I'm just now figuring out cover art. And I think I found a great cover artist. I really wanted an illustrator this time around, so I have a proper artist this time rather than photo manipulation or vector. And so I'm really excited about that. And once I have that all figured out, you'll get those books. I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to release them once a month or once every couple of months, but you will get all three of them. It is a proper trilogy, so you need to read them 1, 2, 3. They all go together. It's very cohesive. This was really exciting for me to write. It's been a decade since I've been able to write 3 books back to back like this, where I could go back and tinker with book 1 because it hadn't come out yet. Lavender is asking whether the Tinkered Starsongs are GL or Gale. These are Gales, so which means that they're low heat. There is a little bit of a romance in them, but it's definitely not the driver of the plot. So I wouldn't call them romance books. But of course it's me, so there has to be like found family and romance and stuff because I stick that in all of my books. But it's way more of like a space adventure story. So in the first book, the main character is recruited as part of this galactic takeover entertainment system because he's an amazing singer. And then in the second book, he's on tour, and for this singing consortium, it's run by aliens, and neither he nor you, the reader, are entirely sure whether the aliens are good or bad, or a mixture of both, and what exactly they're trying to do when they take over the galaxy with song. So that's the second book. You're on tour, and in the final book, they all chivvy up to a planet that's at civil war, and a bunch of celebrities basically get taken hostage and involved in a civil war on a planet, on an alien world. So that's the 3-book series. It's a lot of fun, and I'm very, very excited about it. I am in the middle of revising the second book in that series. The first one has gone off to my developmental editor, and it shouldn't have a very strong edit because it's already been edited. And then the second one does, and the third one, and then... So I'm basically trying to... I wrote, and now I'm editing, and I will get the cover and everything, all of these kind of all at once rather than one at a time, because I sort of want to give them all to you one after another. I'm one of those people who, when I'm a reader, I don't like waiting very long for the next book in a series, so I decided this time around I was gonna pretty much just give it to you. Right, so yes, these are Gail Carriger books, not G.L. Carriger books. However, the universe that these books are set in is the same universe as this book and this book. So my sci-fi universe is all one universe, and this is a GL book. It is very sexy, if I do say so. It's one of my favorite books that I've ever written, and this is a Gail book, and it is a YA. So this is a straight up adventure story from on a space station. Girl escapes space station, and this is a crazy sweetheart alien murder mystery on a space station kind of thing. Clearly I like space stations. The main character of the new series is a crud rat. So you don't have to have read this one, but if you want backstory onto that character's kind of general history about what he used to do, it's definitely alluded to in the Tinkered Starsong books, but it's not really covered. So if you want to find out about crud rats and what they do in the galaxy, then you'll need to have read that book. So, that's my big project, I guess, for this year. I have a couple of other projects on the back burner, and then of course I have new writing that I'm doing, because that's writing that I've already done that I'm now bringing out. So yeah, but essentially we're gonna dive quite a bit into sci-fi for a while. I hope you guys are okay with the ride. Honestly, it's such a fun series. And so I'm gonna take some questions that I collected ahead of time first. I just have the 3, so if you want to think up some other questions you want to ask me, it's pretty much open season. You can ask about future writing projects I have. You have writing questions yourselves you can ask. Whatever, I'm always happy to answer anything. So questions that have come up already when I announced the live. Jessica asks, and actually see some of these are going to dovetail into what I was just talking about. Do I ever write scenes I want first and then build from there? So I think what Jessica is asking is whether I always write linearly, like I come up with a story and then I write one scene after the next, or if I have like kind of spot scenes that sort of suddenly come to light. And the answer is yes, I do. So most of the time I do, how do I put this? Most of the time I do write pretty linearly. I'm an outline writer, so I like to write an outline first, at least some kind of an outline. And then as I go along, I'll fill it in. But I also have these sort of moments of epiphany where I see a scene super clearly that maybe is going to happen further along in the book. In some cases, it's like a memory, like a flashback scene for characters. and I will skip around and I will write that scene. I'll write whatever is super clear and really wants to be written first, even if it's not linear at that moment in time. So a little bit of both. And then I've talked about before the fact that I don't really start writing a book at all until I have seen a scene really, really clearly in my head. And it's always two characters in dialogue talking to each other. And it always is sort of an establishing scene. Once I can see that scene, I know I can write the whole book. But until I see that scene, the book is usually just on the back burner and I'm thinking about it. And I call that the epiphany scene. And so for Soulless, for example, my epiphany scene was Alexia and Ivy walking through Hyde Park together, talking about the fact that Alexia accidentally killed a vampire the evening before. So these scenes aren't always, in fact, they're rarely the first scene that ends up being the first scene in the book. But that was the scene that told me that the book needed to be written. And pretty much all of them have that at some point. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Jessica. And then Kelly asks, how do I structure my writing day? A practical question. Do I write for a specific length of time or do I write for a word count? So for any of you who suffered through the Nano podcast with me over on The Everyday Novelist, which was not a Nano cast as it turns out because both of us failed to do it, you know that I'm pretty structured and more so than I thought. I'm not good as a daily writer. It turns out that's not something I can do, and physically it's not something I can really handle anymore. So essentially, when I'm really writing hard on a new project, it tends to be 4 days a week. So 4 days on, 3 days off. Those off days are the weekend and Monday. Monday is my business day. So I'm usually writing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I tend to write in the afternoons. That's when I'm the most perky and awake. It's one of the reasons you guys get the live this time of day. I'm just not a morning person, so it's better if I don't have to write creatively in the mornings. And I write for a word count. So I do block out time, but mostly I need to write 2,000 words. And that's the rule. Of course I can always write more, but 2,000 is the minimum. And sometimes that takes me a couple hours, and sometimes that takes me all afternoon into the evening. And I'm pretty strict with myself, so apart from like food that I need, like dinner or lunch or whatever, I can't do anything else if I haven't done my word count for that day. So I can't watch television, I can't hang out with friends. I'm very, very strict. It is my working time, it is working hours. I go to a place where I cannot be disturbed. I do kind of relocate sometimes, so if I'm not really feeling it in the office, I might go to a cafe for a little while or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much how I structure my writing time. And then I have kind of weeks or months where I'm not writing because I'm traveling, because I'm launching a book, because I'm doing some other form of production. So I am a hyper focuser. I don't really do well if I have to do a lot of tasks. So it's really better for me if I kind of block out production time as well, where I'm like, these months I am working on this book. It is the book I am writing. I can't write more than one book at once. I'm not good like that. I have to focus on the one book. And then this month or these weeks, I'm doing this thing more with my creative brain. So yeah. I don't know. Managing the muse is difficult. It's different for different people. I tried to browbeat mine into submission as much as she'll let me. Kala asks, and I apologize, Kala, if I don't pronounce your name right. Do I ever read the books that I've written for fun? And that is such a loaded question. The answer is no. It's never fun to reread my own stuff. And that's because I can never stop editing it. So even Soulless, which has been out for 13 years, if I pick it up, all I see are the flaws and the things I want to fix still. So unfortunately, it's really, and I think most of us authors are like this. I think it's hard for us to enjoy our own work just as entertainment. that's different from what I'm doing right now. So I'm revising the Tinker Star Song books right now, and I'm really having a lot of fun. And I've had enough distance from them, I haven't looked at them in a month or two, to really enjoy it. So I am enjoying the story of it, because I can't remember what I wrote. I always forget what I've written, you know, within like 10 minutes of having written it. It's just like, what? Oh, no, what's, ooh, shiny. So, so yes, but it is fun. Like, I am rereading these books right now, and they are a lot of fun, and I totally experience them. So like, I have made myself cry 3 times already with this series. It has a real strong poignancy to it, the Tinker Star Song series. So be ready for that. And I can make myself laugh. And there are definitely times where I'll be like, ooh, did I write that? And more often times where I'm like, oh, did I write that? Like, what was I thinking? You know, so definitely I can like re-surprise myself with stuff I've written, especially if I haven't read it in a while. But just going back and rereading anything that I have written just for entertainment, that I don't think that would ever work. I think I don't have that capacity, I'm afraid. So those were the questions I had. I'm going to take a look at the comments and see if we've had any other questions come in the interim. Generally speaking, if you guys have a question for me, if you could put a question mark at the beginning of it, that way I can scan through and tell pretty quickly whether it's for me or if it's just chattering away. And let's see what we got. At the very, very beginning, when we're making our hellos, I probably won't catch a question. So don't be afraid to just retype it, and I will hopefully catch it later. I also do always go back through everybody's questions, and for those of you watching on YouTube later, I'll go back through YouTube as well to make sure that I catch everything. And if I'll answer it next time, even if I don't answer it this time. Somebody asked whether for the Tinker Star songbooks, if 5th gender ties into it, and less closely. So, Credret kind of has a bit of backstory for the Tinker Star songbooks, and 5th gender is kind of more world building for the Tinker Star Songbook. So essentially each one contributes to a kind of better, broader understanding of the entire universe, but you can absolutely read the Tinker Star Song without having read either of the other two. So Megan, I have answered your question already. Charity, you're so good. Charity's kind of like the moderator of the lives. Lavender wants to know if there's more universe building. Yes. Absolutely, Lavender. The Tinker Star Songbooks have a lot more universe building. You'll learn a little bit about something called the Quarantine Zone and kind of how the different colonies work. And especially in the second book, when the characters are moving through the universe that I've built, they visit sort of different planets and different aliens when they're on tour, because they're giving these performances. So, and you do as well, obviously. So yeah, you'll get lots of hints about sort of the backstory of the whole universe, but also, you know, all the different aliens and everything. It's pretty fun. Christopher is asking if there'll be audiobook versions. Yes, I haven't decided who I want to use as a narrator yet. So whether I want to go back to Michael, I think he would do a really good job. Michael Leslie is the narrator of the 5th Gender books. But he's super busy these days, so I don't know if I'll be able to get him. So yes, but yeah, I plan to do, I do plan to do audiobooks. Not sure how quickly I or they will be able to move on those audiobooks. 3 books at once is a lot. So we'll see how it goes. But I do hope to, and I do hope to go with a narrator who I've either used before or who I know is really good. So I am excited about it. Oh, someone's tuning in from Germany. Amazing. Scrolling through. Beth says, it was my honor and privilege to be at the Heroine's Journey seminar. Ah, that is great, Beth. Thank you. That's quite a bit to commit to. Any plans to do another nonfiction? Yes, but it will be different. So I actually, one of the things I have written that I haven't talked about with you guys much is another nonfiction book. This one's called Going Hybrid. So it's about the business side of turning, as I did, from a traditionally published author with publishing houses into a self-published author, which I am still mostly 50-50, but I haven't had a new book with a traditional publisher in quite a while now because I like to do them myself. And it's turning it. This is me. I'm organized. I like spreadsheets and systems, and so it's kind of turning into a textbook. It's getting a lot. It's 150,000 words so far. It's a monster, and it has like templates and you know, guides and workbooks and all this other stuff going on with it. So it's a lot. And it is specifically written for authors who are already published with traditional publishers, established authors who want to transition towards self-publishing. Because a lot of the advice out there for indie authors or self-published authors has to do with sort of building that career from the ground up. And I found, having gone through this myself, that it's quite different if you are already previously published. So that's why I'm writing that one. But no bets on when that's coming out. These days I kind of use nonfiction as kind of a resting point. So if I'm between fiction books or too distracted by family drama or something, nonfiction is something I can pick up and put down really easily. It's easy for me to parse and chew in smaller chunks. So I kind of have this second book running. I said I wasn't going to do nonfiction again, but apparently I am. But we'll see what happens. I'm not entirely sure what the timeline is for that or what's going on with it. But it's very different from the heroine's journey, so. Anne asks, Solace was the very first steampunk book that they read. How did I first... Generally speaking, if the question is long and I have to tap the see more button, I can't see more. How did I first become... Oh, how did I get into the steampunk genre? So many years ago now, 13 years, I started writing this funny little book that was basically kind of a reaction to the paranormal bubble that was happening at the time in the sort of late 90s, where I was like, yes, I want my vampires and werewolves, but could I have them in a historical setting, and could I have them funny, please? Please and thank you. And nobody was writing this book, so I started writing it. And then when I was coming up with the world building, and I sort of was like, well, you know, from an archaeological perspective, if you inject monsters into reality, they change history, or at least they change the way we interpret why history happened. And under those circumstances, you're going to have sort of technological developments that are different from what actually happened. And so I started to, it's a long way of saying I sort of accidentally wrote steampunk, and then I sort of strayed into realizing there was a music and an aesthetic and all of this movement that was going on around it. And I was like, oh, that's what my book is. My book is steampunk. So that's how it ended up being steampunk. Accidentally is the answer. And then I, who have always been into historical reenactment and cosplay and a super geeky girl, was just like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. I get to dress up, but I don't have to be actually historically accurate about it. I can just have fun with it. Yeah, anything to wear a pretty dress, really. Or jumpers, and a vest. Lisa says, you did write that! Which character stays with you, like on your shoulder, kind of lurking? Well, it should come as no surprise to any of you that it's Lord Akaldama. Lord Akaldama always seems to be there. I wouldn't be surprised if he sort of strays into the sci-fi series as well. I make no promises, but what can you do with a character like that? I think Lord Akaldama is to some extent an instrument of my own subconscious. He is like the outrageous commentary that's always there, making snark about your life as you go through it. So yes, he would be one of those characters that persisted whether I liked it or not. I feel like there are certainly archetypes that I gravitate towards and I utilize a lot. I find kind of grumpy on the outside, soft on the interior, quietly competent but extremely caring characters very, very attractive. So they're some of my favorite characters to have in a series. So like Lyle or Flute, those kinds of characters. But also, I also really love sort of cheerful, sunshine, sweetheart, heart on the sleeve sort of characters. So Triss in the Fifth Gender is very much one of those kind of cinnamon rolly sort of characters. So yeah, those are two, and I will often match those two up because I think that's a fun opposites bouncing off of each other, whether it's as friends or as lovers or something else. So yeah, those are two archetypes I clearly really enjoy. I often gravitate to kind of trying to understand them more. I mean, obviously the sunshine sweethearts are often that way because they are covering pain, and the grumpy exteriors are hard shelling over squishy, broken interiors. And so as a writer, kind of contrasting what the character shows you of themselves on the page to the background about how they got there and why they seem to behave that way, and how the broken bits and the voids in each other sort of match up and formulate love or friendship or both, is kind of the sort of Venn diagram of what I love to explore. So I think that's why those two kinds of characters show up quite a bit. I think you'll also notice that I enjoy competency in a lot of my characters. So I often have characters that are very good at something. They're maybe not so good at other things. But I do like to show characters being sort of capable in some sphere, whether it's a professional sphere or a friendship sphere, or just in, making everybody laugh around them. Nicole asks, I heard you were a dancer. Ooh, secrets. Yes, indeed. What types of dance? Whoa. Oh, gosh. So, I did ballet when I was very young. Obviously, if you meet me in person, you know that I do not have the body type for ballet, so that didn't last. And then I mostly moved into what was called at the time modern jazz, and then that kind of evolved to contemporary. But I would say most of my training is probably in modern jazz, technique-wise. And yeah, I did that all the way up through undergraduate. I love dancing. And then I did social dancing, which I absolutely adore. I really love social dancing. So I did quite a bit during the high of the swing resurgence in the late 90s and early 2000s. I did some competitive Lindy back in the day. I had a wonderful partner who could actually throw me up in the air, so aerials and flips and stuff. I have no fear, or at least I used to. So I used to also do ice skating and jumps and twirls and stuff, and falling all the time. And my body has now, late in life, reminded me of all of those tumbles that I took. So I don't think I would be that risk taking anymore. I really love to get back into social dancing. I will still swing at the drop of a hat. If there's a partner around who wants me to swing with them, you'll see this happen at steampunk events that I go to. If there's swing dancing happening, I will sit hopefully on the side of the dance floor and hope that somebody is brave enough to come and ask me to dance, because I dearly love to dance. If I were to take it back up in a big way, which is not unlikely, I'd actually like to learn to lead. That's my next thing. For social dancing, I've never learned to lead, and I really would like to do that. So those are, pretty much any form of dance. I always say, I don't do karaoke. You do not want me singing, but I am happy to be a background dancer, and I do a wicked hilarious physical comedy interpretive dance at anything given the slightest option. And a few of you at conventions may have seen me do that. I think I've done interpretive dance on panels on occasion, just because, movement. I'm very drawn to movements and physicality. Joseph asks, as an author, when you go to events and meet people and see fans, does it give you energy, or do I need a post-event recovery? This is really interesting because it's come up in a couple of my spheres recently. So I technically am an ENSJ, but I never test very strong in those, was it Myers-Briggs? Myers-Briggs tests. So I've also been an INSJ occasionally, and it's really funny. I'm like 1%. So I actually consider myself an introvert because of this, because I genuinely, obviously I love speaking in public or I wouldn't do lives, right? I genuinely love events. I love going to them. I love meeting people. I will die on the tiny hill of having the best fans ever. You can walk into a convention where there are signing lines, and I always know which is my line, because A, they all look fabulous, and B, they're usually actually talking to each other. Like, I tend to have chatty, fun readers amongst my base. So just so you know, if you come to a Gail Carriger event, you're probably gonna make a new friend. It seems to happen to everybody all the time. But yeah, so I love, like, I can imagine most of the time, like, going shopping and hanging out with most of my readers. Like, it just, like, I wrote the books that attract the kind of people who I like, like, who I live with, who I love, who I hang out with, like, everything, right? So, yay, I did the right thing as far as I'm concerned. So I love events. But is the part which is where I think I become, I technically qualify as an introvert. I need a vast recovery time. I have to psych myself up before I go to an in-person event, and I need to, like, cycle myself down. So if it's just like a one-night signing thing at a bookstore or something, then I'm usually all right within 24 hours. If it's a convention, and I have quite a few conventions coming up this year, I need a day, or sometimes two, to kind of recenter myself and get back into the groove of being a solitary writer. Yeah, it's really exhausting. And you'll probably see, if you hang out with me consistently at an event, you'll see my energy level just sort of start to tank by the end. And probably that's because I push it, because I like to go to parties and hang out at the bar and, like, chat with people and stuff late into the night. But also it's just that my energy reserves do get tapped. I'm not like one of those extroverts who performs, like I know a bunch of actors and stuff, and they just seem to, or stand-up comics, and they just seem to get so much energy from like the performance acts, and I think that's such an extroverted thing, and I am not like that. The act of, like, being on panels and speaking and stuff does kind of tire me out. Which is not to say I won't do them, but just that I do need some recovery time afterwards. And it's okay if you're like that too. It's still possible to have an authorial life. Dick asks, any updates from the movies department? This is the animation option. For those of you who don't know, it's still, I think it's right on my homepage of my website, so you can go check out what it's about. So the Parasol Protectorate books are under option to an animation studio. And honestly, I haven't had a peep out of them in a while. I was actually thinking I should probably ping them and see if anything is happening. This is classic Hollywood behavior. I hate to say it. So we'll see. The last I heard, I saw the final pilot proof for the first episode and little descriptions of all the ensuing episodes. So for the arc of the trajectory of what would be the first season. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's, like, out on pitch and out on proposal now. But I haven't heard anything, so I should probably ping them to see what's going on. Lavender wants to know, have I heard the gossip, the hot goss on Audible versus audiobook platforms? Oh, yeah, Sanderson doesn't really like the exclusivity clause for Audible, and no, none of us do. It sure is difficult money to turn away, though. But yes, I mean, I have not so secretly dealt with this the way I've dealt with, which is basically what I will tell all 63 of you right now, which is, if you are on my newsletter, you can buy the audiobooks from me first. You own the assets. It's an MP3. I put them up for sale for like 2 weeks or so before I even upload them to Audible. So I'm not in violation of their terms of services. And then once those audiobooks are live on Audible, they're exclusive to that platform for 7 years or something absurdly disgusting like that. And then I no longer sell them directly. But that is how I've sort of gotten away with avoiding it personally. Privately, like tinily sticking it to the man. Essentially, it just means that it's an option for me to sell it to you guys directly, and then you get to own it, and so you have those MP3s. The downside of Audible from a listener perspective, a consumer perspective, is you it's a subscription service and you pay your chips to get the audiobook, but like there's weird loosey-goosey as to whether you actually own that audiobook, and if you decide to leave Audible, can you ever access it again? If you stop paying your monthly fee, what's Amazon going to do to you? Are they going to take all those audiobooks away? So my solution was basically to be like, look, here's a way, you own the asset. There's always a risk of piracy from my perspective, but so far everybody's been pretty good about it. And then no one can ever take it away from you. You have that MP3 forever. It's your audiobook. You bought it. So yeah, but you have to be on the chair up. So you have to belong to my newsletter in order to get that perk. And that just keeps the sort of cone of privacy and privilege over it and kind of keeps me below Amazon's radar. I hope, fingers crossed. I mean, I'm pretty small fish. I don't think they're going to come gunning for me. But yeah, so that was a very technical answer to the Audible exclusivity issue. I did put Heroine's Journey and Meet Cute are both out wide in audiobook. And that's specifically because Heroine's Journey, my objective with that book, which is my nonfiction book, was to make sure that as many people as possible had access to it, not to necessarily make a living off of it. That book for me was very much a passion project of trying to get this narrative out into the world so people would talk about it, people would learn about it, and people would pass the information on to others. So my objective with that book was as broad as possible. So I went wide with that one. So the Heroine's Journey is on every possible audio platform that I could get it onto. So that's a bit different. And then Meet Cute is the same. And the reason I did that with Meet Cute, because Meet Cute is a sort of novelette, sort of a long short story that is basically the hedgehog incident of Alexia and Connell first meeting each other. And because that directly ties into the Parasol Protectorate book, and the Parasol Protectorate series is a wide series because it's traditionally published, I put Meet Cute out as widely as possible so that it could access exactly the same audience. So, but I absolutely do not make very much money on the audio. And it's certainly the case that Audible throttled the Heroine's Journey. Like, they do not roll that out. They do not promote it. They don't want anybody listening to that because it's wide, so it's under a different model, and their algorithm can see that. And so, yeah, they're punished. In other words, they're punishing me for not being exclusive. I have no doubt about it. Because its sales, when you compare it to all of my other audiobooks, are so much lower, like unreasonably lower, which means Amazon's doing something to me because of it. They're punishing me for being wide with it. Amazon's evil. A necessary evil, like many things, like Facebook. Here we are. Kala asks, a nice, fun, let's get away from the business end of the publishing industry. Who do I think has a better sense of humor, vampires or werewolves? I don't know. That's a really good question. I suspect they have different senses of humor. I think vampires probably have more like wit and wordplay and sort of like snobbishy senses of humor. And werewolves are probably a little bit more slapstick and, crass in their sense of humor. That's the impression I would get. So, depends on your sense of humor, I guess, who you would prefer hanging out with. Robert says, Grumpy Sunshine character trope. Yes, back to the previous conversation about archetypes that I really enjoy. Yes, Grumpy Sunshine is a favorite kind of matchup of mine. And people are naming... There's some really funny comments, everybody. You guys are so funny. Everybody's naming some of my characters that fit the Grumpy Sunshine mold. Looking for other questions. Please excuse my hunting. Oh my god. You guys are so chattery. Charity asks, do I have a full list of in-person events for this year? The events page on my website has been updated. You'll notice today's live is currently at the top, but I'll go in there and delete it as soon as this one is done. And it's I think it's pretty updated. So I think there are like 4. So I do have a couple more events sort of in the works, but until I've been announced as an attendee on the events webpage, I'm not entirely sure if it's really going to happen or not. So I always wait until either that or they've bought me a plane ticket, or preferably both, because then I know it's actually happening. So the ones that are announced are the ones that are absolutely confirmed. I'm definitely going to be there. So yeah, the first one I have coming up is something called the Stupid Cupid Steampunk Ball, and that is in Hartford, Connecticut. So I will be on the East Coast. If it's anywhere near you, this is your chance to come and see me. I'm pretty sure I will not be on the East Coast again this year. So this is the one. And then, yeah. Julia says 7 years for the exclusivity clause. Yeah, that's why Sanderson has kind of validation and being annoyed about it. Moving on through 4 questions. Questions. Robert asks. Let me just double check time. This is where I need it. Finishing Gail. 3:47. Okay, good. Robert asks, who would do stand-up comedy? Werewolves or vampires? Oh, werewolves, without question. Vampires might do crowd work. Kill me. Vampires. Sorry, I kind of imagine a vampire just sort of like standing up on the stage and then getting off of it and walking into the crowd and like randomly biting people. Megan wants to know if our favorite Dratzy is appearing this year. So for those of you who have been loosely paying attention, we'll code in this. That's the book that I'm currently writing. And Nana went bang, so I'm only about 25k into it. And now I have to launch, so I'm doing these revisions right now. So that is the book I hope to finish this year. That's the goal, is to finish writing at least one book. Yay! And that's the one. So, but it's not going to be exactly what you expect, I don't think. But yes, I doubt it will actually come out this year. I would love it if I could make it for the end of the year, but I think it's probably more likely the beginning of next year. Sorry. It's been pretty chaotic around these parts lately. Any events in Los Angeles? Yes. Irene asks if, yes, I have an Anaheim event. I mean, it's not LA, but it's as close as I'm gonna get. I'm gonna be headlining WesterCon this year. And so anybody out there who wants to do the Disney thing, I will be in close proximity to the Disney and doing an event. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited about that one. And I'm hoping a bunch of you will come. So it will be sort of a Gale invasion of WesterCon. WesterCon is a semi-big sci-fi fantasy convention in SoCal. So, yes, I'm coming to you, LA area. It is listed on the events page, that one, because it's a big deal. I'm very honored that they asked me. So yes, that's listed already. Katie wants to know if I've watched the What We Do in the Shadows series. I've watched the original movie, and I think I watched a few of the first episodes, but no, I don't get whatever subscription service that one was being served on, so I haven't watched it. I need to be hanging out with somebody else who has it and sit on their couch for a while and watch it. So, but yes, I know it's probably right up my alley. Oh, Robin wants to know about Kevin in the San Andreas pack. Poor Kevin. He's sort of in the background. I suppose I could. I mean, he's terrible. He's clearly terrible with women. Poor thing. He obviously has so many problems. So maybe, I don't know. The San Andreas is sort of open-ended for a reason, so that I can dabble whenever I feel like it. Excellent! I think I've made it through the questions. If I haven't made it through your question, it means I missed it. So go ahead and write it again, and I'll give you a couple of minutes for that, but I think we should probably be cooling down. Yes, we're at the last 10 minutes. So, yes, last chance to ask a question or re-ask if I missed it. Thank you, Robert. That's very sweet. The Gail invasion. That's me. I'll quietly sit in front of you and sip tea. Yeah, I'll come sit on your couch, watch what we do in the shadows, and sip tea. Lisa wants to know, unfit. Oh, thanks, darling. That's very sweet. What's my workout? I'm a yoga person, and I try to get 20 minutes of some kind of cardio every day. And I don't push myself. I don't like sweating. I'm probably actually not very fit. But I do find that creatively, emotionally, and in kind of all ways, just getting outdoors and walking around helps. So, but I need function. I need purpose. I'm really bad at just like exercising for the sake of exercising. So it's like, let's go on a very long walk that ends at the coffee shop or something like that. Or let's go to let's get on the bike and bike ride to the office in order to do the day's work. That kind of a thing. I like to have a purpose for my exercising, and that is what gets me to do it. But thank you. I like to hike on occasion, that sort of thing. Am I a fan of any sci-fi series? Oh, you mean like, Nicole, I guess good question. You may or may not have noticed from the fact that I tend to write relatively optimistic and generally found family. You might be able to guess, especially given my age, what my original fandom was, and that original fandom was Star Trek: The Next Generation. So that's me. Trekkie, back when we called it being a Trekkie. Yeah, totally used to dress up, and I always dressed up as a Bajoran. I like the earring. You know, that kind of, the Counselor Troy sort of dresses and things like that. That was my jam. But yeah, I used to go to what were they called? Create-a-thons, I think they were. Sort of corporate, weird conventions that were run for Star Trek back in the day. But yeah, that was my first, I guess that was my first major fandom. So the Sixth Doctor is my doctor. I did grow up with Doctor Who, especially when I was over in the UK in like the 80s, the late 80s. But I didn't think of it as a fandom, you know? Like I just enjoyed it a lot and would watch it. I didn't think of the other aspects of being connected to it. So yeah, the first like kind of convention fandom thing, identity as a fan that I sort of latched onto was Star Trek Next Gen. Yeah, I was a big fan of Data. I had a huge crush on Wesley because I was a child and that's what you did. So that's my sci-fi fandom. And yeah, and you'll hear me gurgle on about sci-fi shows. Like I'll get into like a tizzy about something. Like Killjoys was one of the last ones that I was like, oh, I was big into. What's the one with the puppets? Farscape. I was big into Farscape for a while as well. So definitely, I think a good, solid sci-fi series on TV is the thing I'm most likely to like get really stuck into and noodle on and get super excited about still, I think, within fandom. Although, you know, I get excited about other kinds of fandom as well these days. How's Lilliput? Lilliput is great. She's not here because I'm at the office, but she's doing really well. She is spoiled. Having humans home a lot during the last couple of years has definitely ruined our cat. She's now extremely demanding, but also incredibly adorable. She is great. It is great to have a tiny tuxedo in your life. Yes. Karen asks whether the replay of the live will go up, and yes, it will. So it stays up on my Facebook page. This live does, if you want to go back and catch the beginning. And also I'll post it to my YouTube channel, or Kelly will. So that takes a couple of days, but that will happen. It's kind of a hassle to sort of gank it down and then upload it back up again. So Kelly does it because Kelly has a monster computer with lots of oomph, which I kind of don't. Lavender asks if there are any TV dramas I'm currently watching. I did fess up. I'm watching, I think it's called My School President, which is a Thai drama that's on YouTube. If you love a like YA pining, angst-ridden gay romance, this is gonna satisfy that. If you're like a Love Simon and the Homo sapien agenda kind of person, which I totally have that, give me like soft cinnamon roll queers, like that's one of my favorite things. Little teens falling in love and establishing their identities, it makes me very happy. So yeah, there's a Thai drama on GMMTV's YouTube channel right now called My School President, and that's kind of given me life, actually. It's very cheesy. They always are. It's a little slapstick. There's unnecessary, what's it called? Sound effects. Totally unnecessary sound effects. But it's also, like, completely adorable. So yeah. That's my current drama addiction. I have others, of course, but that's the drama addiction. Jen asks how I feel about tattoos. The tattoos? Tattoos in general? Oh, you mean people have tattoos of my books? Honestly, the most honored ever. Well, okay. People who name their pets after my characters or their children, I am unbelievably honored. But a tattoo is pretty darn cool too. So yeah, there's a little collective of people who have tattoos of different aspects of my books, and I am absolutely charmed and delighted, and a little awed, in fact. I mean, that's a true fan. My goodness. I myself have no tattoos. For very strange reasons. I'm not against them. I just don't have any myself. I'm a bit of a pain wimp. But also, I only really am into the stark black and white ones, and they sort of look like bruises from a distance. If you're wandering around naked on a beach, for example, which may or may not have been a core part of my hippie upbringing, and so I just have I don't know, I'm just weird about tattoos, so I don't have any myself. But I love them on other people, and piercings. I think it's very cool. Brian wants to know if my fandom overlaps with Our Flag Means Death. Yes, it sure does. I saw that spike when that was airing quite a bit. It's always interesting to me what everybody's talking about and sharing about. Yes, I pay attention to what you all are doing. I don't always chime in. But yes, there seems to have been quite a bit of crossover indeed with that show. I started to watch it, but actually, and you may or may not have noticed this about my work as an author, but I'm squicked out really, really easily, and the way some people feel about explicit sex, I feel about explicit violence. So I really don't enjoy watching shows that are super bloody, you know? So, and I'm afraid that Our Flag Means Death kind of went there. I know it's doing comedically and dark humor, but yeah, it got to me too much, so I had to stop because of that, because it was just a little too violent for me. I'm kind of a wimp in that regard. And have I seen Ghosts yet? American rewrite of the BBC series. No, Katie, I have not. I think I've seen a little bit of the original BBC series, but I haven't seen that. Val asks, what do San Andreas shifter era vampires do in the Bay Area? Influencers, life coaches, tech bros, vampires, I don't know, man. I don't know that vampires would necessarily be tech bros purely on account of the fleece. You know, the fashion amongst the tech brodom doesn't really drive with a vampire aesthetic. So I think probably more like influencers. Can you imagine like a Kardashian, but it's in a vampire hive? That would be hilarious. Like all these different vampire personalities living in the same big house together and trying to get along, and they're all like ridiculously wealthy, and they have like legitimately no care and no reason to care about anybody else but themselves because they're vampires. It would be excellent reality TV. I'm just saying. But also they probably wouldn't care whether whether they were popular or not either, because you know they're vampires. They'd just be like, whatever, people, you are all food to us. Bah. All right, well, I think we're running out of time, so I'm gonna scroll really quickly through and make sure I'm not missing any important questions. Robin has a question, but don't ask any more, okay, everybody? Have I watched Rings of Power? No, I have not. I was a huge fan of the Lord of the Ring movies. That is definitely another fandom where I got into it. Like, I was in line to see those and stuff like that. Like, you know, like ahead of time in line, like camping out in line in costume. I dress as an elf. Were you in any doubt? So yes, but no, I have not watched the new spin-off series. There's a lot of like, you know, like major world spin-offy thingamajiggers going on right now. Like, there's so many Star Wars ones, and it's a bit much for me to keep up with. You know, like I have Thai and Korean dramas that require my attention right now. I'm sorry, everybody. They're doing wonderful things with the queers these days, so I have to go watch all my babies fall in love with each other in other languages. It makes me very happy. All right, it looks like we're good, and it's pretty much 4 o'clock on the nose. So thank you all so much for tuning in and being chattery. I love you all. It's been great. I always love your questions. They're so much fun. And hopefully we'll get another live going. I want to get more consistent again. I miss you all very much when I can't do a live, so I'm hoping to keep them up. And so yes, if you didn't get a chance to ask your question, save it for next time, or you can always reply to the chirp or drop me a calling card or whatever, and I'll try to get back to you that way. Take care. Good luck with the writing if you're writing. Have fun with the reading if you're reading. Enjoy your shows if that's what you're into these days. And I will talk to you again hopefully in a month or so. Take care of yourselves. Be good to yourselves. Take care of others. And stay safe out there with this crazy weather. Bye.